Okay, students, so now you can say your friends who have not joined still, because there are 500 participants full. So they can join through YouTube. Now we are live in YouTube. Can you say your friends to go join in YouTube if they have not still joined? We'll wait 2 minutes for them. Please inform them because they are calling me. So the connection is getting cut. So just inform them to go watch in YouTube.
The picture so that anyone can download it.
Okay, let's start. So first I want to introduce myself. I'm Asia Ali Mohammed. I have done my degree in bachelor's and I have done the bachelor's in biomedical science, and I have done the diploma in MLT as well. So I have more than 6 years of teaching experience. So that's about me. So let's go to the lesson straight away. So before I start the lesson, I just want to say all something, right? The thing is, now when we are studying science, we should study like we are going to be a doctor, right? We should study it like we are studying science. So it's not we are like we are not focusing on the culture side here. Mainly we are focusing on science, right? So we are going to study detailedly about science, right? So I will be teaching you all 100% of this lesson. I know most of your teachers, they skip this lesson. I don't know why. Even there is a research going on asking like, even there is a research going on asking why teachers are not teaching the reproductive system of man, right? So there are still researches going on regarding that also in Sri Lanka, mainly why the teachers. Give me 1 minute. Okay, sorry about that. So there is a research still going on why the teachers are not teaching the reproductive system. Is it because of tradition, culture? But I'm not going to do any of it. I'm going to teach you all what is in the book completely, right? So you will understand the lesson 100% before you leave my class. So this is how the class is going to work. So when I am teaching, if you have any doubt, you can send me the doubts in the chat. And in the meantime, in between, I will give you some time where you can unmute and talk. If you have any doubt, you want to talk and ask, you can do that as well, right? So let's begin. Right. So today we are going to study about the female reproductive system, right? The female reproductive system. So that's the topic we are going to cover today, right? So first, let's study about the structure. How is the female reproductive system? So now when I'm teaching, you should always imagine this is inside your body. Okay, this is happening. Okay, now boys will say we are not females. We don't have that. So how can we imagine? Just imagine this is happening inside the female's body, right? So we imagine and study. So when we do that, that will settle in your mind for a long time. So just imagine these things are happening and we'll continue, right? So first, let's study the structure of the female reproductive system. Now listen to me very carefully. Now, when you take the structure of the reproductive system, mainly the females, they have 2 ovaries, right? They have two oval shaped ovaries. Okay. And then here, okay, let me draw the diagram. So now let's talk about the ovary, right? So how many ovaries do you have in the female reproductive system? Answer me. How many ovaries do you have? You have two ovaries. That means that is one pair of an ovary, right? You have one pair of an ovary. So that means that is how many ovaries? You have two ovaries, right? And then in the female reproductive system, here you have a finger-like projection, right? There is some finger-like projection. So it's like this. It's always moving in this direction, right? So when there is anything coming from the ovary, it should be able to suck it inside to it. So it's always moving in this particular direction, right? So this you call it as the fallopian tube, right? Connected to the ovary, like not connected, like opening to the ovary. Say this is the ovary. Okay, so opening to the ovary, you have something like this. So this will be acting in this direction. So this will be the fallopian tube, right? So you have two fallopian tubes on either side for each ovary. Okay. Then after that, this fallopian tube is connected to the uterus. That commonly you call it as the womb, right? What is the common name for uterus? You call it as what? The womb, right? So the ovaries are connected here, and here you have the uterus. So that is the womb, right? Then after that, you will have the vagina. So here is the vagina. So this whole part is the uterus, okay? So here you have the fallopian tubes on either side. And here you have one pair of ovaries, right? Now let's see what is happening. Now listen to me carefully. So when you take the ovary, right? When you take the ovary, so here you have the ovary. So there is a finger-like projection like this, right? Anything which is coming from the ovary, it's going to suck it into it, right? So this, you call it as the fimbria, right? This you call it as what? Fimbria. So this is the fallopian tube, right? This is the fallopian tube which you have here, right? And then here you have the uterus, and here you have the ovary. Okay, here you have the ovary. Okay, now look. So when you take the uterus, now this whole thing is the uterus, right? So when you take the uterus, the upper part of the uterus, now uterus, you can divide it into three parts. How many parts you can divide the uterus into? Three parts. So the upper part of the uterus, you call it as the fundus. You call it as what? Fundus. And then here, the middle part of the uterus, you call it as the body, right? This is the middle part of the uterus. That is the body. This whole thing, you call it as the body of the uterus, right? And the lower part, this part, you call it as the cervix, right? You call it as the cervix. And then the cervix will open up into the vagina, right? So then you have the vagina here. The vagina will open up to the external environment. So that opening, you call it as the vulva, right? You call it as what? Vulva. So I know these are some new names for you. So let's revise it back again. So before we study the main part, which we should focus today, right? So come again. So when you look at the structure of the female reproductive system, how many ovaries do you have? Answer me. How many ovaries do you have? You have two ovaries. That is how many pair of ovary? How many pair of ovary do you have? Very good. That's correct. You have one pair of ovary. So that is two ovaries. Right? That is two ovaries. Okay. So then you have the fallopian tube on either side, right? So this fallopian tube has a finger-like projection. So what do you call that fallopian tube with a finger-like projection? You call it as what? Fimbria. Now repeat with me, okay? Even if you are watching in YouTube, that's fine. Just repeat what I'm saying. So these names will go to your head. So this you call it as the fimbria. Okay. Then you have the fallopian tube, which is a muscular structure, one pair. So for each fallopian tube, you have 2 fallopian tubes, right? And then you have the uterus. So what is the common name you call for the uterus? Can anyone say me? What is the common name you call for the uterus? Yes, you call it as the womb, right? You call it as the womb. So this uterus can be divided into how many layers? How many parts? How many parts this uterus can be divided into? Very good. It can be divided into 3 parts. So the upper part where the fallopian tube is attached, that you call it as what? That you call it as the fundus. That you call it as the fundus. So the middle part you call it as the body, right? And the lower region you call it as what? Cervix. Cervix. Then the cervix will be connected to whom? The cervix will be connected to vagina, right? So then the vagina will open up to the environment. So what is the name you give for the vagina which is open up to the environment? That you call it as what? Vulva. That you call it as vulva, right? Okay, so this is the small idea of the structure of the reproductive system. So now let's go to the function of the reproductive system. Okay, now listen. So now initially we will be studying detailedly about the ovary, right? We will study detailedly about what? The ovary. That is the first part of the female reproductive system, right? So when you take an ovary, it's an oval shape and you can divide it into 2 layers. How many layers can you divide it into? 2 layers, right? So those 2 layers, you call them as the cortex and the medulla or medulla, right? You call it as the cortex and the medulla. Now you have heard the word cortex and medulla. Can someone say me what do you mean by cortex? Now when we were studying about the kidneys or when we were studying about brain, we study about cortex and medulla. So now you all say me, is cortex the outer region or the inner region? Very good. That's correct. Cortex is the outer region, right? So the inner part of the ovary, you call it as the medulla, right? Right? And the outer part of the ovary, you call it as what? Cortex, right? Cortex. So in the cortex, now first we'll see what you have in the cortex, right? We'll see what you have in the cortex. Now listen to me very carefully. Now, when you're in baby, right? When a girl is a baby, right? Inside the mother's womb, right? Now say here you have your mother, right? So inside the mother's womb, now you're a baby, right? A girl or a girl baby is there inside the mother's womb. So when she's 3 months inside the mother's womb, what happens is the eggs, the ova will start to become produced. The production of ova will take place. Now that is a unique thing. Why shall I say? When you take a male, right? When you take a male, the production of sperm, right, in their testis, the production of sperm starts only after, like when they are going to attain puberty, when they are going to attain a big boy, right? When they are going to attain 14 to 16 years, right? When they are going to attain big only, the production of sperm will start. But that is not the case for female. When the baby is inside the mother's womb and she is just 3 months old inside the mother's womb, the ova production will start. Ova production will start. Now I'll ask you a very interesting question, right? Now say this is you, right? This is you. Okay. So now say this egg which produced you, right? Now say this is an egg. So from where will you get the egg which produced you? Now say this is a girl, you're a girl. So you are produced by an egg. Okay. So this egg which produced you was first, where was it? Inside the mother, right? This egg which produced you was inside the mother. Now you say me, when your mother is how many years old, did she produce that egg? Think and tell me now. When your mother is how many years old, did she produce the egg which is going to make you? 3 months. Where? Outside the body. Is it outside the body? No, where? Inside the body. So that means when your grandma was having your mother, the egg which is going to produce you was already there. Did you see how amazing it is? Did you see how amazing it is? Right? So the production of ova will start only when the baby is in the mother's womb, and she's how many months old? 3 months old. So that means the egg which is going to produce you was already present inside your grandmother's womb. Grandmother's womb. I'll explain you one more time. Now, what is happening? When you have a female, right? The egg production will start when you're 3 months old inside the mother's womb, right? So now say for an example, your mother is going to produce you with an egg. Your mother is going to produce you with an egg. This egg was inside the mother when she was how many months old? This egg was inside the mother when she was how many months old? 3 months old. Where? 3 months old? Outside or inside the grandmother? Inside the grandmother. So when the grandmother was pregnant, your mother was inside the grandmother, and when she was 3 months old, she produced the egg which made you. Which made you. Did you understand? So that the 3 months old, the mother became big and she used that egg to produce you. So that means you were already there inside your grandmother. That's how amazing it is, right? So did you understand? Did you understand? Very good. Right, now come. So now when will the production of ova start? Can you answer me? When will the production of ova start? When you are 3 months old, right? When you are 3 months old inside the mother's womb, the production of ova will start, right? So when you come outside, when the mother gives birth to a girl, you will have 200,000 to 400,000 ova inside the female. Did you understand? So when the mother is giving birth, say the mother is giving birth to a baby girl, so she will produce 200, she will have inside her body 200,000 to 400,000 ova, right? Now listen to me. Now listen to me. So that you got it, right? So ova production starts when is the ova production starts? Can you explain me again? When is the production of ova starts? When the baby is 3 months inside the mother's womb, right? Now one person is asking, Miss, why are you producing this much? Why not only one? I'll come to that later. I'll come to that later. For now, just imagine you have this much of ova, right? Okay, now listen. So now what happens is, initially in your cortex, you will have some structures like this. Right? You will have some structures like this. This, you call it as the primary follicle. Right? This you call it as the primary follicle. So inside the primary follicle only, you're going to have your egg, the ova. Right? So now how many primary follicles will you have when during birth? During birth of a girl, how many primary follicles is she going to have? Very good. 200,000 to 400,000 primary follicles she's going to have, right? Now listen to me. Now let's take your brain, right? Say this is your brain. Okay. So in closer here to the brain, there is a gland, you call it as the pituitary gland. What is the name you give for that gland? You call it as what? Pituitary gland. So here you have a gland, you call it as pituitary gland. Now listen to this as a story, okay? Okay, so you have the brain. In the brain, on the bottom side, closer to their earlobe, the inner part of your ear, you have a gland that you call it as what? Pituitary gland. Pituitary gland, okay? So this pituitary gland, it's going to secrete a hormone. It's going to secrete a hormone. You call it as FSH. If you just remember it as FSH, it's enough. But it's better to know the long term as well, right? So this is follicle stimulating hormone. This you call it as what? Follicle stimulating hormone. Yes, boys also have pituitary gland. Pituitary gland, you call it as the master gland. It produces a lot of hormone, right? So in females, it's going to produce FSH, right? Follicle stimulating hormone. Now listen to me. So what happens? So once the follicle stimulating hormone is produced, now follicle stimulating, what do you mean by the word stimulating? It's what? Now if you say someone is stimulating you, what is that meaning? Someone is pushing you to do, encouraging you, right? Activating you. So now look at the hormone, follicle stimulating hormone. So whom is it going to activate by the name? If you look at the name, you can come across. Whom is it going to activate? Very good. He's going to activate the follicle. So what follicle is it going to activate? What follicle is it going to activate? Primary follicle. Primary follicle, right? So now look here. So when you are going to attain puberty, before 14 days or 14, say before 28 days, right? Now say, you know, the girls become, you say girls become big girl, right? So that means they are attaining puberty, right? So when they are attaining puberty before 28 days, this is going to happen, right? This is going to happen before 28 days. So now look here. So this follicle stimulating hormone is going to come to the primary follicle and say, okay, now you can grow. It's going to say you grow, right? When will that happen? When the girl is 10 to 13 years old. Right? When the girl is 10 to 13 years old, this primary follicle will come, the follicle stimulating hormone will come and say, okay, now you can grow, grow. So then the FSH will come and stimulate the primary follicle. Then what will happen? The primary follicle will start to grow. Once it starts to grow, finally, it will form the biggest follicle, right? That follicle, you call it as the Graafian follicle. You call it as what follicle? Graafian follicle. So now what is happening? Before puberty, how many days before puberty this will happen? Before the girls attain puberty, how many days? 28 days before that. Who will come? Yes, say with me so you will understand it better. Who will come? FSH will come. Who is FSH? Follicle stimulating hormone. So it will come and say the primary follicle, all these years you stayed enough. Now you can grow. Now imagine this happened. This primary follicle was started to produce when? When did this primary follicle start to produce? Yes, when did this primary follicle start to produce? Very good. 3 months inside the mother's womb. So therefore, this primary follicle is waiting for all these years. So after it waits, now the follicle stimulating hormone is coming. Okay, guy, you are enough waiting. Now you can grow. So then what will happen? The primary follicle will start to grow and finally it will form the largest follicle. That you call it as what follicle? Graafian follicle. Graafian follicle. So for the primary follicle to grow and become a Graafian follicle, it will take 14 days. How many days will it take? 14 days. It will take 14 days. So this Graafian follicle will produce a hormone. Right? This Graafian follicle, what will it do? It will produce a hormone. So that hormone, you call it as estrogen. That hormone, you call it as what? Estrogen. So before this also you have studied about estrogen. Now remember, estrogen is a hormone which promotes what? Which promotes what? Secondary. Yes, you have studied this. Secondary sexual characteristic. Now, I think my students have studied. So look here, others, look here. What is secondary sexual characteristic? Now say example, you have a girl. So initially when she's a baby, does the girl have breast? Does she have all these changes? Can you differentiate a boy and a girl? No, you can't differentiate a boy and a girl. But when she attains puberty, what will happen? The breast will enlarge, the breast will enlarge, there will be hair under the armpits. So all these changes will take place, right? So that you call it as the secondary sexual characteristic, right? So the characteristic which appear when a male or a female attain puberty. So this Graafian follicle is producing estrogen. So one function of the estrogen is for what? Secondary sexual characteristic. Secondary sexual characteristic. Did you understand up to here? Is it clear up to here? Is it clear up to here? Very good. Very good. Now come. Now who is the next person? Now it has become the maximum size, no? So the maximum follicle, you call it as what? Can you repeat with me? What is the maximum follicle you call it as? Yes? Graafian follicle. That's correct. Graafian follicle. Now it has become maximum. Then what will happen? This pituitary gland will again secrete a hormone. You call it as LH. It will secrete a hormone. You call it as what? LH. So that stands for luteinizing hormone, right? The pituitary gland also will secrete a hormone. You call it as LH. So that hormone, what is the long form for that hormone? You call it as what? Luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone. Right. Now listen to me. Now the primary follicle became a Graafian follicle. Right? Then what will this luteinizing hormone do is, it will come and say, okay, now you have grown the maximum. Now what should you do? You should break. You should rupture. Right? Now here inside the Graafian follicle, only you're going to have the ovum or the ova. Ovum is one. Ova means plural. Okay? So you will have an ovum inside the Graafian follicle. So now what will the luteinizing hormone come and say? Okay, Machan. You have grown enough. Now you should break. So then what will the Graafian follicle do? It will rupture. So let me draw that. It will rupture like this and release the ovum. Right? It will rupture and release the ovum. So now here I told you, when you have an ovary, from the ovary you have some finger-like projections, right? What is that name you call it as? The finger-like projection in the ovary, you call it as what? Not the ovary, sorry. The fallopian tube, the finger-like projection, you call it as what? Fimbria. Now listen. Now look. So now here you have the ovary. This is the ovary. This is the fimbria, which is having a finger-like projection. Okay, so now when the ovum, the Graafian follicle is releasing the ova, so who will take that egg? This finger-like projection will say, okay, you should come here. So the fimbria will take the ovum inside to it. So did you understand up to here? Everyone understood? Can I go forward? Okay, good, right. So then what will happen now? Only this is the ovum, no, only this is the egg, the ovum. So the remaining part of the ovum, the remaining part of the Graafian follicle will form a structure like this. This you call it as the corpus luteum. Now come the word. Now what was the hormone which said this to break? What was the hormone which said this to break? You break, enough growing. What was the hormone? Very good, LH. What was the long form of that hormone? Luteinizing hormone. Right? So now look here, luteinizing. It's forming whom? When it breaks, it's forming whom? This LH, it's saying it to break and form whom? The luteum. So that's why this name, you call it as the corpus luteum. Corpus luteum. Did you understand? Did you understand? Now, look. So this corpus luteum will produce a hormone. You call it as progesterone, right? The corpus luteum will produce a hormone. You call it as what? Progesterone. So now we studied that estrogen and progesterone, one of the characteristic of them is what? Secondary sexual characteristic, right? Secondary sexual characteristic. That's not the only function. We will study the other function also later. But for now, just remember one of that function is that, right? Then what will happen is after some days, now if now this ovum is going into the fallopian tube, no? So now we'll study detailedly. For now, just remember if fertilization is not taking place. Now I'll come to what is this word later, but for just remember for now. Okay, so if after some days, this corpus luteum will form another structure, you call it as corpus albicans. Corpus albicans. And then finally, the corpus albicans will become degenerated. So from here to here, how many days does it take? From the primary follicle until it becomes a Graafian follicle, how many days will it take? 14 days. So same like that, until from corpus luteum, until it becomes corpus albicans, it will take another 14 days. So totally, for one cycle, it is taking how many days? For one cycle, it is taking how many days? 28 days. 28 days. Come again. Let's do it again. We'll revise it one more time so you will understand it better. So let's draw it more clearly. I'll draw here. You have the ovary, right? Say here you have the ovary, and to the ovary you have the finger-like projections coming like this, right? And then this is the fallopian tube, right? Then the fallopian tube is connected to the uterus. Okay, I'll draw it a bit this way here. Okay, this is the ovary, and here you have the fallopian tube. The fallopian tube is connected to the uterus. Say this is one part of the uterus. Okay, half of the uterus I have drawn. Okay, half of the uterus I have drawn. Now come here. So when you take the ovary, it's an oval shape. So what are the two parts which is found in an ovary? So this is a revising session, okay? You revise with me. So what are the two parts you have in an ovary? You have the cortex and the medulla. So the cortex is the outer region. The medulla is the inner region. The medulla is the inner region. So then what will happen inside the ovary? When you are 3 months old inside the mother's womb, what will develop? What will develop? Ova will develop. So this ova is found inside whom? The eggs are found inside whom? The first part you call it as what? Very good. The primary follicle. So you have this primary follicle. So when a baby is given birth, how many primary follicles do you have? Do you have only one primary follicle? No, you have 200,000 to 400,000 primary follicles. Yeah, right? Okay, so now come. So now here you have the brain, right? Here I'll draw the brain here. So here I'll draw the brain so you will remember, right? So on the bottom part of the brain, so here what do you have? What is the gland you have on the bottom part of the brain? Pituitary gland. Pituitary gland. So when the girl becomes 10 to 13 years old, what will the pituitary gland do? What will it release? It will release FSH. It's saying, okay, you are enough waiting, you start to grow. So this FSH stands for what? Follicle stimulating hormone. So then this FSH will come and say the primary follicle, okay, now you can grow. You have the permission to grow. Now you grow. So then the primary follicle will grow slowly to become the largest size. So what is the largest follicle you call it as? Yes, what's the largest follicle you call it as? Graafian follicle. You call it as the Graafian follicle. So this Graafian follicle will produce a hormone. So what is the hormone you call produced by the Graafian follicle? Estrogen. Estrogen is the hormone produced by the Graafian follicle. Then what will happen? Well, now after the Graafian follicle becomes the maximum size, again the pituitary gland will release a hormone. So what is that hormone? LH. Luteinizing hormone. So it's saying the Graafian follicle to become a what? Luteinizing. It's saying the Graafian follicle to become a luteum. So what is the name of that luteum? What is the name of that luteum? Corpus luteum. Corpus luteum. Right? So then corpus luteum, if fertilization does not take place, finally it will form a structure. You call it as what? Corpus albicans. Corpus albicans. So this corpus luteum will produce a hormone. So what is that hormone produced by corpus luteum? Yes, what's that hormone? Progesterone. So estrogen and progesterone together, what will they help in? What will they help in? Secondary sexual characteristic, right? Secondary sexual. So luteinizing hormone will make the Graafian follicle to rupture and release the ovum. Now listen to me. So here the function of the reproductive system is the menstrual cycle. Right? The function of the reproductive system is the menstrual cycle. So one change, when menstrual cycle is taking place, one change occurs in the ovary, right? Changes can occur in the ovary and changes can occur in the uterus. So now we have studied what are the changes that is taking place in the ovary, right? These are the changes that is taking place in the ovary. Now you all say me, when it comes from primary follicle to Graafian follicle, how many days will it take? How many days will it take? 14 days. When it comes from Graafian follicle to corpus albicans, that means here, how many days will it take? 14 days. So totally how many days? Totally how many days? 28 days. 28 days. So now look here. So now this is not the only thing what will happen. This is not the only thing what will happen. There will be some changes occurring in the uterus as well. Right? There will be some changes occurring in the uterus as well. Now listen to me. Now every month, your body, a female's body is expecting a baby. Remember that. Every month, the female's body is working in a way so that she is expecting a baby. Any time in between, she can get a baby. That's how the female body is working. So every month, the female body will expect to have a baby. Right? So for that, what happens is, now I'll start from here. So for that, what happens is the wall of the uterus, right? Say this is the wall of the uterus. Now the baby is going to come now. So now the baby to stay, it need a cushion now. Now when you have a baby, do you normally just keep it on a table or chair and just leave it like that? No, you provide a nice cushion area. When you get the baby, you provide paddings and cushion and then you keep the baby. So same like that, when the baby is going to grow inside the mother's womb, it also needs a cushion effect. It needs a very high protective place to stay. If not, it will go down. It will be abortion will take place. So that can't happen, right? So it should have a nice cushion area. So what happens is, so the female's uterus, every month, what will they do is, they will make the uterus in a way so that it can accommodate the baby. Now, one person is asking, Miss, is the baby staying in the uterus or the stomach? Now, when you all were small, what do you say? Inside mama's stomach, I have a baby. What will happen if you have the baby inside your mama's stomach? When you eat food, the baby also will nicely get digested and become a food for you. Right? So you don't think baby is not found inside the stomach. Baby is found inside the womb. That is the uterus. Inside the womb, that is the uterus, right? So if you get a baby now, this uterus, what will it do is, if it gets a baby, it should stay in a way where it can give the cushion effect. Cushion effect, right? Now what happens if you don't get a baby? Now, does every mother get pregnant every month? Does every mother get pregnant every month? No. So what will happen if you don't have a baby? So what happens is, listen here, what happens is, that is the first stage, the first phase. in the uterus, now in the ovary, you have two phases. One is the follicular phase. I forgot to say that. Look here. Now here the primary follicle is becoming a Graafian follicle, no? So that phase you call it as the follicular phase, right? That phase you call it as what phase? Follicular phase. Then when the Graafian follicle becomes the corpus albicans, that phase you call it as the luteal phase, right? So in the ovary, you can have two phases. What are the two phases found in the ovary? Luteal phase and the follicular phase. Now we are going to study what are the phases you are going to have in the uterus. We'll parallelly study what are the phases you are going to have in the uterus. Now say, baby is not there. No baby. So now what will happen to this cushion? What will happen to this cushion? You don't need that cushion anymore. So what will happen to the cushion? It should break. It should break. So what happens is this whole cushion will break and mix with blood. The wall will break and mix with blood and come out through the vagina. Now you should respect girls. Imagine someone is pulling the skin out of you. How much painful it is. How much painful it is when someone pulls the skin out of you. Same like that only is happening here. So every month when there is no baby, what will happen? These walls of the uterus, it will break down, mix with the blood and come out through the vagina. So that's when the blood comes out, that's when they say, okay, the girl has attained puberty. But really, is this the point where she attained puberty? I'll come to that point later. So now just remember, when there is no baby, what will happen? The wall will break down and it will come through the vagina. Through the vagina. So that you call it as the menstrual phase. That you call it as what phase? That is the first phase happening in the uterus. So that you call it as what? Menstrual phase. Menstrual phase, right? Now, girls know this. Menstruation, normally how many days will it last? How many days the bloods will come out from the, how many days normally it lasts? Normally, you say 7 days. But average, the scientifically average they have found out, it's 4 days. Now, some people have 3 days, 2 days, then 5 days, 7 days. Some people go up to 15 days. So that is not normal. So 4 days. 4 days is the average, right? So the menstrual phase will happen for 4 days. Now just imagine. Now the wall is broken. Wall is fully broken and it has come out through the vagina. It has come out through the vagina. So now what should happen? What will your body do? It will repair the wall, right? It will repair the wall. Now look here. So once the wall breaks, this egg also will come out through this, okay? The egg also will come out. But can you see the egg? Can you see the egg? Can you see the egg? No, egg is microscopic. You can see only through a microscope. Then girls will ask, now what is that coming out? Now you all say me, now I taught you, what is that coming out so much for the girl? The wall mixed with the blood, right? The wall of the uterus is only coming out. So the egg is very, very small, microscopic. So you can't see the egg. You can't see the egg, okay? So now the wall is fully broken. The wall is fully broken, right? So now what should you do? Now say you have a cut in your skin. Say now someone have dragged your skin out. So what will you do? What will your body do after that? What will your body do after that? Repair, right? So now when the menstrual phase, now the ovum went out now. So now what will happen again? Again the FSH will stimulate this and say, okay, one person has gone out, but next month we should prepare for another person. So what will say? What will this FSH say to this person? Now what should you do? You start to grow. You start to grow. One person has gone out. 1 month, one person has gone out. You go, but now we need another person. Maybe the baby is going to come next month. So now you should start to grow. You should start to grow. So then what will happen? The FSH will come and stimulate the primary follicle, and then the primary follicle will grow. So when the primary follicle is growing, the Graafian follicle, when it is growing, what's the hormone it will produce? What's the hormone it will produce? Estrogen. Estrogen. So this estrogen will come and act on the uterus. This estrogen will come and act on the uterus. Now the wall is damaged, the wall is broken. Now you want repair. So this estrogen hormone will come and act on the uterus, and it will say, okay, now you grow new cells, the new blood capillaries. So new blood capillaries and new cells will start to grow. So it will repair the wall. So that you call it as the proliferative phase or proliferative stage, right? That you call it as what stage? Proliferative phase. Proliferative phase, right? So now look here. From the primary follicle to Graafian follicle, how many days will it take? From the primary follicle to Graafian follicle, how many days will it take? 14 days. So 4 days is menstruation. Out of that 14 days, 4 days menstrual phase is taking place. So what's the remaining number of days? 10 days. So proliferative phase, the repairing of the wall will take how many days? 10 days. The repairing of the wall will take how many days? 10 days. So did you understand up to here? Now this is taking place parallelly. Once the ovum comes, the wall is developed, it will break down menstrual phase. Then once the menstrual phase starts, now this person will say, okay, now one egg is gone. Now next month you will get another baby. So now you should start again. So it will start again. 4 days is the menstrual phase. Then after that, after the wall is broken, now they are repairing. So who will repair? Estrogen will repair. Estrogen will repair the wall of the uterus and it will start to repair. So that phase, you call it as what phase? Proliferative phase. So proliferative phase will take how many days? 10 days. 10 days. The third one. Now after it becomes the Graafian follicle rupture, what will it become? After the Graafian follicle rupture, what will it become? It will become the, yes? Anyone who can answer? It will become the luteum. It will become the corpus luteum. So what is the hormone which is produced by the corpus luteum? What is the hormone which is produced by the corpus luteum? Progesterone. Then what will happen is this progesterone will come and act on the uterus wall. Now again, what they are imagining, next month, what will happen? Next month, you will get a baby. So now again, they are forming what effect? Again, to accommodate the baby, they are forming what effect? Cushion effect. So again, for another 14 days, the progesterone will come and act on the wall of the uterus and it will thicken. It will make the wall of the uterus to become thick. And also it will have glands. Now the baby needs nutrition, no? So it will produce glands which can secrete nutrition, secrete substances. So it will produce glands here and it will thicken the wall. Okay, now again the baby can come. Again, so that you call it as the secretory phase. Now the baby is going to come, no? They are producing glands which will secrete substance. So that you call it as what phase? Secretory phase. Secretory phase. So that secretory phase take how many days? Now progesterone is produced for how many days? 14 days. So secretory phase will take how many days? Secretory phase will take 14 days. 14 days. So now look what happened. Again, now say, now the egg is coming here, right? The egg is coming here. So now say, no baby, no sperm. No, the sperm is not coming here to get to the egg. No sperm. Then what will happen again? What will happen again? The walls will be broken. Again, it will become, so that is what phase? After the secretory phase, if there is no baby, again the walls are being broken and pulled out. So again, what will the next stage be? Menstrual phase. So every 28 days, this cycle will take place. This cycle will take. Did you understand? Did you understand? So respect girls, huh? So when they have like every month, they should go through this pain. It's very painful when the walls are pulling out. It's very painful. So you should always respect the girl. Again, I will ask you, why is a man strong and a girl comparative to man, she is weak? Scientifically, that's truth, right? I am not being racist. So discriminating, the girl is weak than a man. Why is that? Why is that? Every month, the girl is losing what? The girl is losing blood. The girl is losing blood, but does the man lose blood? No. So that's why a girl is weak and a man is strong. So did you understand? Right. So now let's write a short note. Let's write a short note. Everyone take out your book. Take out your book, everyone. And let's write a short note so you will understand it better. Make like one column. Make a row first. Make a row. And write there menstrual cycle. Menstrual cycle. So menstrual cycle changes will take place in two places. What are the places where the changes will take place in a menstrual cycle? Can you all say me? Changes can take place in the ovary or changes can take place in the uterus. So write that down now. So changes can take place, right? So changes can take place in the uterus, or we'll write it on top. This is uterus. So changes can take place in, right? So changes can take place in the ovary and changes can take place in the uterus, right? So normally in the ovary, you have two phases. What are the two phases which happens in the ovary? What are the two phases that happens in the ovary? Very good. So first one is the follicular phase. Follicular phase, right? And the next one is what phase? Next one is the luteal phase, right? Luteal phase. So now follicular phase takes how many days? Follicular phase takes how many days? 14 days, right? So at the same time in the uterus, when the follicular phase is happening in the ovary, at the same time in the uterus, how many phases are taking place? When the follicular phase is taking place in the ovary, at the same time in the uterus, how many phases are taking place? 1 or 2 or 3? You all answer me. Now uterus, there are 3 phases. One is the menstrual phase, proliferative phase and secretory phase. So when the follicular phase is taking place in the ovary, that is 14 days, how many phases is taking place in the uterus? 2 phases. 2 phases. So you can divide this into 2. So first is the menstrual phase. So menstrual phase takes how many days? Menstrual phase takes how many days? 4 days. Then after that, you have another phase which is taking place within these 14 days. So that is the other phase is what phase? Proliferative phase. For proliferative phase, take how many days? 10 days. Proliferative phase will take 10 days. So when the luteal phase is taking place, what phase is taking place in the uterus? What phase is taking place in the uterus? Secretory phase. Secretory phase. So both of them will take how many days? Both of them will take 14 days here. So this also will take 14 days here. 14 days, 14 days. So totally, one menstrual cycle takes how many days? One menstrual cycle takes how many days? 28 days. 28 days. Now I want to ask you a question. Just think and let me know. Now use your brain. In vain, no, if not your brain. So use of it. Take a use of it and answer. Now say, you have how many ovaries? How many ovary do you have? 2 ovary you have. You have 2 ovary. Now one ovary will produce 1 egg. 1 egg. Okay. The other month, now say in the month of January, this ovary produce the egg. Then February, who will produce the egg? The other ovary. The other ovary will produce the egg in February. Then again in March, who will produce the egg? This ovary. Right? So now say me, now if this ovary produced an egg today, After how many days will this ovary again produce an egg? Now, for one cycle, it takes 28 days. So this is one cycle, it's producing. So another cycle is happening. After that only this is happening. So how many days? You should multiply this by how much? You should multiply this by how much? Listen here. The ovaries become growing in January. In the January, say January 1st, the ovary is starting to grow. Then in the February 1st, this ovary will start to grow. For February now 28, no. So now say January 28, this ovary is starting to grow, right? Then after that, February 28 days, no, it's there. So we'll subtract, say February 26, this ovary is starting to grow. So how many days is there a gap between the first ovary ovum producing and the second ovum producing from this same thing? 56 days. 56 days. You should multiply this by 2, right? One time this ovary produce means the next time this ovary will produce. Then after that, this one will produce. So this one will take 28 days. Again, this one you skip the 28 days. So that means totally how many days? 28 plus 28, 56 days. So one ovary will produce an ovum in how many days? One ovary will produce an ovum in how many days? 56 days. 56 days. Right, now come here again. So in the follicular phase, what is happening? In the follicular phase, what is happening? Primary follicle is being converted to what follicle? Primary follicle is being converted to Graafian follicle. So when this is happening, this primary follicle, when it is being converted to Graafian follicle, what is the hormone it will produce? What is the hormone it will produce? Estrogen. So this estrogen will be used by whom? This estrogen will be used by the uterus in the proliferative phase. For what purpose? So you show by an arrow. This estrogen is used by the uterus in the proliferative phase. For what purpose? To build up the wall of the uterus. Or you can say to repair. Because not building up, no, the wall is broken, so it will repair. Repair the wall of the uterus by producing new cells and blood supply. By producing new cells, it will repair the wall of the uterus, right? Then after it will become the luteal phase. So once it becomes the luteal phase, what will happen? What will it produce? Now, when the luteal phase, the Graafian follicle or the corpus luteum. Now it's forming corpus luteum, no? So corpus luteum will be converted to what? Corpus albicans. How many days? 14 days. So what will it produce during that period? Progesterone. So this progesterone will go and act on where? This progesterone will go and act on the uterus. So what is the function? It will produce glands, right? And make the uterus wall what? Thick, right? Make the uterus wall thick. So that's the function of the progesterone, right? So this is one menstrual cycle. So is it clear? Is one menstrual cycle clear for you? Is it clear? 100% clear? Okay, good. Right, I forgot to say one thing. Okay, if I remember, I'll let you know. I think I missed. Yes, I missed one thing. Look. Now, when the Graafian follicle becomes maximum, then what will come and act on the Graafian follicle? What will come and act on the Graafian follicle? LH. What is the name? Long form of that? Luteinizing hormone. So then what will happen to the Graafian follicle? What will happen to the Graafian follicle? It will break. So that process, you call it as ovulation. That process, you call it as what? Ovulation. So what is the ovulation of the ovulation means rupturing of the Graafian follicle, right? So what is ovulation? Ovulation means rupturing of the Graafian follicle. You call it as ovulation. Now everyone take out your book. Everyone take out your textbook. Now look at this diagram first. Let's look at this diagram. Let's see whether you understand. So now what is here, dear? Everyone read. What is here? Primary. Rupturing means breaking down. Rupturing means breaking down. What is here? What do you have here? Primary follicle. This primary follicle is producing what? This primary follicle is producing what? Graphian follicle. So who will help the primary follicle to become a Graphian follicle? Who will stimulate the primary follicle? FSH. So now look here, the green color line is FSH. So during this stage, can you see FSH hormone is high? Can you see that? The FSH hormone is very high. Yes. So now when the Graphian follicle becomes the maximum, now the Graphian follicle should break. Am I correct? The Graphian follicle should break. So what is that process you call it as? Breaking of the Graphian follicle. What is that process you call it as? Ovulation. This is page number 53. So that process you call it as ovulation. So for ovulation to break it, what is the hormone you need? What is the hormone you need? LH. Now look at the blue line. Can you see? It's very high. LH hormone is very high. So it will help to break it up. Right? And then after that, it will go, both will have the same amount. So that a bit like same amount, and nothing will happen here. So you don't have these two, only in little amount you will have. So now come here. Now look here, they have shown with dotted parts. Can you see that? They have shown with dotted parts. Can you see that? Okay. So that means what are they indicating? The walls are being broken. So if the walls are being broken, so what is that phase you call it as? What's that phase you call it as? Menstrual phase. Now look here. So when this is happening, this is also parallelly happening. This is also parallelly happening. So when the menstrual phase is taking place, now this primary follicle is becoming a Graphian follicle. So during this stage, what hormone will they produce? What hormone will they produce during this stage? Very good. Estrogen. Estrogen. So now look here in the orange line. Can you see? Estrogen level is very, when it is Graphian follicle, the estrogen level is very high. Estrogen level is very high. Then after it becomes ovulation and it will release. Now look here. So what will the corpus luteum and the corpus luteum do? What will the corpus luteum do? Produce progesterone. Now look at the purple line. So the purple line, what can you say about the amount of progesterone? High. So remember, this corpus luteum will produce high amount of progesterone. At the same time, it will produce little of estrogen as well. Okay, it will produce high amount of progesterone and it will also produce a little amount of estrogen as well. So did you understand? Did you understand? Is it clear now? Is the menstrual phase very clear? Okay, right. So for the new students, I just want to introduce all of you. I think no one has seen this. So I just want to introduce our website. We have opened our own institute. So for the old students, I think you all know. So we have opened our own institute as well as we have made our own website. So I just want to introduce that website to you all. Okay, so give me 1 minute. Okay, so this is our website. Right, so it's like first you have come to Sateha College, and then we will be doing in the future. Now we have started online, right? So in the future, we will have face-to-face classes as well in the Hivala areas. We will have face-to-face classes. And then here we have given an offer for advanced level students. So if they choose all 3 subjects at Sateha College, they can get a 500 rupees off from the amount. And if you're O-level and if you choose like 3 or more subjects, you will get a 5% off from our institute, right? So then if you go here, you can see all the courses which we have. right? So I have divided them as grade wise, right? So grade 6, grade 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and A level 2022 and 2023. So if you are a grade 10 student, so let's click on grade 10. So then you will find all the courses which are here, right? And the amount. So we will be releasing like like in within today or tomorrow, we will be releasing a YouTube video how to access our website, right? So please make sure you go through that. And if you like to join, you can join the classes, right? So for science, if it is grade 10, right? So grade 10 science, it is 1,200, right? 1,200 monthly. So here they have given the month fees. Okay. So if you join grade 10, you can come for the paper class as well, paper class fee, right? So how does the paper class work? It will be on like this. Now you have 4 weeks in a month, right? So the first week you will have an exam, MCQ or a structure type. Now remember, studying only theory is not enough at all. You should study, do questions, do a lot of questions. So then you can get an A very easily. Very easily you can obtain an A. But studying only theory is not enough. So for that purpose, for my students, I have given the paper class free. Why? I want all of you to join. So I'm not taking any students out of my students. Only for my students, I'm giving the paper class free because I want them to get the best results, right? So paper class is free. So the first week you will be doing an MCQ type question, right? MCQ, you will have like 50 MCQs. It will be a Google form. You should do it and submit it within the time. And the second week, we will discuss the 50 MCQs. Now again, doing only the paper is not enough. You should see where you went wrong. So again, we will have the discussion in the second week where we'll be discussing the whole paper and we will write a review why this is wrong and why this is correct, and we will get an idea where you went wrong. So that will happen in the second week. In the third week, again, we will be doing an exam, the structure and the essay type. And in the fourth week, we will be discussing the structure and essay type. So all of these I'm doing for free for my students so they can get an A for science, inshallah. Right? So if you go for the grade 11, right? So this is how it starts. And if you go for courses and if you click on grade 11, yes, if you click on grade 11, right? So if you click it on grade 11, so you can see here all the courses which are here. So the fees will be 1,400 for science. And if you join grade 11, you can grade 10 as well as the paper class for free, right? So grade 10 and grade, you will get grade 10 and the paper class for free. So I will be releasing a video on how to correctly access, and we have so many features like quizzes and stuff. So I will be releasing a video regarding that in YouTube. Right, so that's it about the website. Let's go back to the lesson. Yeah, you all should register to the website. Even my students, they should register to the website. We will be doing that soon, okay? But not now, not in this week, because we are having the free sessions now. So once the free sessions is over, the registrations will start. Right, so up to now, is there any doubt you want to unmute and ask? If so, you can raise your hand. Is there any doubt you want to unmute and ask? Any doubt? Anyone? Up to now, what we have studied? Yes, Fahad, you can ask. Fahad, you can unmute now. Fahad, you can unmute. No reply. Fatima, you can unmute now.
Madam, during
Fatima?
menstruation, we get like
Wait a
stomach
minute.
pain.
So, yes.
During
Yes, dear.
menstrual cycle, during that period, we get like stomach pain, all right? Is that due to the
Stomach? It's not the
breaking down?
stomach pain. It's not the stomach pain. Now, when you take your body, your stomach is found here. The womb is found in the lower part of the body. Normally, you get a pain in the lower part of the body.
Yeah.
Now, say if you take the abdomen, Normally you get the pain lower part or on the upper part of the abdomen?
Lowermost part, madam.
Lower part. So that means what part of your body is paining? Is your stomach paining? Now we also say, oh, my stomach is paining. But is really your stomach is paining?
No, madam.
No, it's your womb or your uterus which is paining.
Madam,
Yes.
is it due to the break?
Yes, it's breakdown. Because someone is pulling it out of you. So it's breakdown. Due to that only you have severe pain.
Thank you, madam.
Welcome. Yes, Nuzeiha, what's your doubt? Nuzeiha?
Miss, can you
Yes.
explain the secretory phase again?
We are uploading this in YouTube. Can you go through that
Okay,
if
miss.
you don't mind? Because I want to explain the other part after fertilization. So if I start again, I won't have enough time. That's why, okay, dear? Yes, Raslan? Okay, now let's start the other part of today's lesson. Now you have questions in your tute. You can go through that as well. I'll show you what questions you all can do. Let's start the other part. Now, all this time we studied what happens if there is no what? All this time we studied what happens if there is no baby. This is my phone number. If you want any details, you can contact this 0772345 Okay, so all this time we studied what happens if you don't have a baby. Now we should study what happens if you have a baby. If you have a baby, right? Now come here. So now here you have the ovary. You have the ovary, and here you have the womb. I'll draw only one part of the womb because the body is small, right? I'll draw only one part. And here you have the fallopian tube coming from the womb. Now, y'all are going to name this diagram. So I want to see whether y'all can remember what we studied just before. So what is this? What is this? Everyone answer me. What is this? Ovary. So what is this? The finger-like projection which is pulling the egg out. So what is that? Fimbria. That's correct. Fimbria. Then what is this? Fimbria. Then fallopian tube. Very good. That's correct. Then you have the uterus. Uterus can be divided into three parts. The place where the fallopian tube is attached to the uterus. What's that place you call it as? Very good. Fundus. And below the fundus, what do you have? Body. And then this part, what do you call it as? This part below the body? Cervix, right? You call it as the cervix. Then cervix open out by an opening. You call it as what? Vagina. You call it as vagina, right? Now look here. Now here the wall is fully developed. It has made a nice cushion. So now it's trying to get the baby. It's trying to get the baby. Now look. So now the egg is coming. The ova, it's coming. The fimbria is pulling it. Okay, machan, come. So it's pulling it and it's taking the ova inside. Then from the vagina, the sperm will come. Right? The sperm will come through the vagina. You know, the sperm can swim, right? It's like a tadpole. It can swim. It has a medium to swim, like a watery medium. We studied that before. So what is that sperm with the watery medium? You call it as. For the people who don't know, it's the semen. It's the semen, right? So the sperm with the watery medium. So it will come like this. Okay? It will come like this and it will move at a very high speed. It will come like that. It comes here. Okay? So it comes like this and it's coming like this. Up to the 1/3. Now, if you divide the fallopian tube into three parts, say and up to here, it's coming. It's coming, right? So the egg is coming here. So now look what happens. So once the egg is here, okay, when the ovum combines with the egg, now I'll ask you one question. Now, have you seen a normal egg and a boiled egg? Have you all come across? Don't say now you have not eaten eggs, huh? Now, when you have a normal egg, not a boiled egg, inside now you have the yellow part and the the colorless part. Am I correct? In the egg, you have the yellow part and the colorless part, the yolk and the egg white. So this egg white, when it is not boiled, can substances go through it, go inside it? If the egg white is not boiled, that means you have not boiled it. Now, imagine there is no eggshell. Imagine there is no eggshell, because inside our egg, we don't have an eggshell. Okay, so if you don't have an eggshell and you have only the outer covering and you have the yolk, can these substances go into the egg? It can, because it's easy to flow. Now it can go through, right? So when you have an egg, let me draw it a big diagram. Say this is the egg and this is the sperm, right? From the male reproductive system, you're getting millions of sperm, not only like one. You're getting millions of sperm. So we know that one sperm consists of 23 DNAs, right? 23 DNA. The mother egg will have 23 DNA. So if the 23 of the mother and the 23 of the father, it combines together, only it's going to produce the baby. So baby cell will have 46 DNAs, right? 46 DNAs. That's how the baby is formed, right? So now imagine you have millions of sperm. If all the sperm get into the egg, what will happen? If all the sperm, chromosome, that's correct. Sorry. So it should be 23 chromosome here, right? So the mother will produce 23 chromosome, not DNA. I missed that. So then it will produce 46 chromosome. Okay, now say, what happens if more than one sperm enter? What happens if more than one sperm enter? Will it produce a baby or a snake or any abnormal animal? Abnormal thing, only one sperm should enter. So what happens is, soon after one sperm enter, this egg will become like a boiled egg. See how nice the human body is, the creation of God, right? So once say this is your egg, say a sperm is coming like this, the first person who knock, it will go inside, and soon this egg will become like what? A boiled egg. So can any other sperm come inside now? Can any other sperm come inside? No. No, any other sperm can come inside. So what happens when the sperm, it combines with the egg, it will form a one cell structure that you call it as the zygote. That you call it as what? Zygote. So this process, you call it as fertilization. Fertilization. So what is fertilization? When the sperm and the DNA combine to each other, and the nuclear materials, sperm have 23 chromosome, egg have 23 chromosome. So the nuclear materials of the chromosome, when they combine to each other, it will form a one cell structure that you call it as zygote. So this process, you call it as fertilization. This process, you call it as what? Fertilization. So what is fertilization? When the sperm, say with me, repeat with me. If not, you will feel sleepy and bored. Repeat with me. So what is fertilization? When the sperm combines with the ovum, it will form a one cell structure which is known as the zygote. So that you call it as fertilization. Now think. Now don't try to memorize anything. Understand and study. Think. Now you have the zygote. One cell structure. Inside your body, do you have only one cell? Inside your body, do you have only one cell? No, you don't have only one cell. So what happens is, soon after the zygote is formed, this will start to divide into several cells. First, now say this is the zygote, right? Say this is the zygote. So first it will divide into two. Now, one person is asking, Miss, how come twins come? I'll explain you here that, right? So now say, initially when the zygote is formed, it is one cell structure. Now it's going to divide. So what is the process of cell division where you produce the same number of cells? Can you all remember? We studied in grade 10, unit 6. Cell division. Very good. Mitosis. So now this zygote, it will undergo mitosis to produce two cells. Now what happens? Now, normally, when they produce two cells, when they divide and produce two cells, it will not divide completely. It will not divide completely. But for some people, it will divide completely. Now what? If it divides completely, now what? Now what? Initially, you had one person. Now it has divided completely to form two people. Now what? Twins. What twins? Now I'll ask you one question. Is these two people having the same type of DNA? Same type of DNA. One egg combined with one chromosome. So these two people are having the same type of DNA or different DNA and chromosome. Why am I saying DNA always? So is these two people having the same type of chromosome or different types of chromosome? Same. So that means they will be identical twins or non-identical twins. Identical twins. Identical. Some people, once this egg becomes divide completely into three, they will separate. Then who? Identical what? Once it divides into three, completely separate. So identical triplets. Identical triplets. So did you get it? How identical twins and identical triplets are coming? Maximum is 3, okay? Mainly natural birth, maximum it goes up to 3. 4 also can come, but other than that, 8 babies, 10 babies is not natural. Not natural. So this is only natural, so 3. Listen again. When you have a zygote, now this zygote will start to divide very soon into millions of cells. It will divide into millions of cells. So first it should divide into 2. No? So once it divides into 2, sometimes it will separate. It will not be combined, it will separate. So once it separates completely, now you have how many babies? 2 babies. So this is identical. Then again, separate into 3. It will separate. So triplets. I'll ask you one question. Identical twins are always girl. This is an MCQ. Identical twins are always girl, 2 girls, or 1 girl and a boy. 1 girl and a boy. Or 2 boys. So what's your answer? Which 2 are correct? It should either be 2 girls or it should either be 2 boys. Can it be a boy and a girl? Can it be a boy and a girl? Can't. Can't. Identical twins can never be boy and a girl. Right? Only non-identical twins can be a boy and a girl. I'll explain you how non-identical twins come. Now listen. Look here. Now here, this ovary is releasing 1 egg. No. This ovary is releasing 1 egg. How many ovaries do you have? Do you have only 1 ovary? Do you have only 1 ovary? You have 2 ovaries. Normally, in a normal girl, 1 ovary will produce this month, means in the other month, which ovary will produce? Will this ovary produce or the other ovary will produce? The other one will produce. But in some girls, at the same time, you will get an ovum produced from here, as well as you will get an ovum produced from the other ovum. Now what will happen? You will have an egg which is coming from here, as well as on the other side, you will have an egg which is coming from the other side. Now what will happen? How many sperms will combine with these 2 ovums? How many sperms will combine? 1 sperm will combine with this ovum, while the other sperm combines with this ovum. So how many babies? How many babies? 2 babies. Are they having the same chromosome? Are these babies having the same chromosome? No. So are they identical or non-identical? They are non-identical. Did you understand? So how identical twins and non-identical twins come? Very good. Right. Now come. So now what happens? This ovum will combine with the sperm to produce a 1-cell structure. So that you call it as what? Zygote. Then soon the zygote will start to divide. And initially it will form in the day 5. You don't need these, don't need to remember the day. Initially it will form a stage. You call it as morula. You call it as what? Morula. Then this morula will be converted to another stage. Now this one has like 16 to 32 cells. You don't need this, but I'm just differentiating. So another type, you have like 100 cell structure that you call it as blastula. That you call it as what? Blastula. So now come again. Initially, when the sperm and the ovum combine together. So if I write it here, if the ovum and the sperm combine together, what will they form initially? What will they form initially? Yes, answer me. Zygote. They will form the zygote. So once the zygote divides, what will they form after that? Once the zygote start to divide, what will they form after that? Morula. So when the morula starts to divide, what will it form? It will form 100 cell structure, or you don't need the number of cells. Just remember, it will form what? Blastula. Blastula. So now look. So once the blastula is formed, now this blastula will get embedded, will get deposited in the wall of the uterus, right? It will come and sink. It will come and sink into the wall of uterus. So that process, you call it as implantation. That process, you call it as what? Implantation. Listen again. Listen again. When the sperm combine with the ovum, that process you call it as what? Answer me, okay? Then only you will get familiar with these words. These words are very new for you. When the sperm combine with the ovum, what is that process known as? Process known as? Yes, that process you call it as what? Fertilization. Fertilization. So once fertilization takes place, what will they form? What will they form once fertilization takes place? Zygote. Then the zygote will further divide to form what? The zygote will further divide to form morula. Then the morula further divides to form blastula. Then the blastula will come and sink into the wall of the uterus. It will come and get embedded into the wall of the uterus. So that process you call it as what? Implantation. Did you understand up to here? Did you understand up to here? Now look. Now look. Now I'll erase this and redraw it for only the womb. Let's redraw only the womb. So this is the womb. I'll ask you one question. If you have non-identical twins, I'll come to that later. Wait. We'll come there. So this is the womb, right? Okay, now look here. So now the blastula will come and it will get deposited into the wall of the uterus, right? Then what will happen is they will form an outer membrane, right? Outer membrane which is covering that person who is inside, outer membrane, and they will form a connection. Let me draw it like this, will you? Now here you have this one. So once they sink, they will form an outer membrane like this, and then this outer membrane will be connected to the uterus, right? So this outer membrane, you call it as the embryonic membrane. This outer membrane, you call it as what? Embryonic membrane. Now listen to me. So once they form the outer membrane or the embryonic membrane, now you call it as what? Now first you had zygote, morula, then blastula, then now the embryonic membrane is formed. So now you call it as what? Embryo. Did you see the connection? Did you see the connection? You had zygote, morula, blastula. So now the embryonic membrane is formed. So now you call that as the embryo. Embryo. So this embryonic membrane is connected to the uterus by a part, right? So that part you call it as the placenta. That part you call it as what? Placenta. So the baby is getting developed. So you don't say it as the baby. Remember, when the baby is in the mother's womb, you call it as the fetus, right? You call it as the fetus. You don't call it as a baby, right? So when you have the fetus, now the fetus is developing. So when they form an embryonic membrane, now you call it as what? An embryo. Embryo, right? So the connection between the embryonic membrane and the wall of the uterus, you call it as the placenta. You call it as what? Placenta. So now here you have the baby. Say this is the baby. Yeah? So now the baby is taking the human form. So once the baby takes the human form, you call it as the fetus. Right? Now let me show you the connection. Initially you had an ovum with the sperm. When they combine together, what will they form? Answer me soon. When you have the sperm and the ovum, they combine together, what will they form? Zygote. When the zygote further divides, initially it will form morula. Morula further divides, form blastula. Blastula further divides, form embryo. Embryo, if it takes the human form, finally it is the fetus. Fetus. Right? So now look here, then there is a connection in between the baby, the fetus, sorry, not the baby, the fetus and the mother. So this you call it as the umbilical cord. This you call it as what? Umbilical cord. So all the nutrition, now say the baby is growing inside the mother's womb. No? Is the baby eating? Is the baby eating food to live? No. Is the baby getting the oxygen alone? No. So all the nutrition, the oxygen should be transported from the mother to the baby. At the same time, if the mother is having disease or any disease, that also can be transferred to the baby. Some diseases, it can be transferred to the baby. Corona. Now still they have not identified, but still they are expecting that the baby also can get it, but still they didn't identify, but there is a chance, right? So therefore, then some substances will go from the mother to the baby through whom? The umbilical cord. Umbilical cord. Now say the baby is taking oxygen. The baby is taking the nutrition. So the baby is getting the diseases as well. Now inside the baby, once he use this, what will it produce? What will the baby produce? Now when we eat food, at the same time we produce something, right? What do we produce? Yeah, you produce energy that is useful to you now. What is the unwanted stuff you will produce? The waste material, like what? What are the waste material that can be produced by the baby? Carbon dioxide. What do you have in the urine? It can produce urine. That's correct. What do you have in the urine? Urea, uric acid, then water. So all the unwanted stuff from the baby will also be sent to the mother by the umbilical cord. By the umbilical cord. I'll repeat one more time. Listen to me. I'll repeat one more time. The baby is coming and getting attached to the wall of the uterus. Right? So it will form an outer membrane. That membrane you call it as what? The embryonic membrane. The outer membrane you call it as the embryonic membrane. So once you have the baby here, so then there will be a connection in between the baby and the mother. So that line, the connection, you call it as what? Umbilical cord. Umbilical cord. Then the place where the embryonic membrane is connected to the uterus, that place you call it as what? Placenta. Placenta. Right? So through the umbilical cord, if the baby needs nutrition, oxygen, so what are the substances which is transferred from the mother to the fetus? What are the substances which is transferred from the mother to the fetus? Nutrition, it will transfer nutrition as well as it will transfer oxygen as well as it will transfer diseases. Then what is transferred from the baby to the mother? What is transferred from the baby to the mother? The waste materials like carbon dioxide, urea, uric acid, right? Then creatinine, water. So all the waste material from the baby will come to the mother. Will come to the mother. So have you heard that mothers, than normal, they secrete a large amount of urine? Have you heard about that? Than normal, when they are pregnant, they want to go to the bathroom every time. So because of this reason only, they produce a large amount of urine. At the same time, when the baby is growing, now say this is the uterus now, so it's closer to the urinary bladder, the place where the urine is stored. So when the baby is growing, what will happen? The baby will push the urinary bladder. So that means the urinary bladder will become small. So always they want to go to urine, right? So that's the main reason. Right, now come. Okay, now take out your tubes. So we have studied up to implantation. Implantation. Take out your tubes now. I hope everyone got your tubes. So here is the diagram chart which you should fill, okay? This is the chart you should fill, which we did before. Here you can fill all the things. Okay, now start doing question number 33, 34, and 35, Roman number 1. Can you do them, please? Do these questions. Do question number 33, 34, 35, part 1, and do question number 36, 37, 37, and 38, and 39, and 40. So these are the questions you should do, right? And I forgot to say you one thing. Now I told no, when you have the baby, the outer part you call it as what? The covering. What is the covering of the baby? You call it as what? Can someone say me? Embryonic membrane. Embryonic membrane. Then this connection, the point where it is connected to the uterus, what do you call it as? Placenta. Then the place where the baby is connected to the mother through a tube, what do you call it as? Umbilical cord. So the baby is present inside a liquid. So that fluid you call it as the amniotic fluid, right? That fluid you call it as what fluid? Amniotic fluid. So remember that also. And can you all do these questions? I will share it here. So it will do these questions soon. Once you are done, raise your hand. Once you are done, raise your hand. It's very easy. Don't copy from the book. Don't copy from the book. Always do it by your own. So you don't need to study it back again. Wait, I will share the tute. Give me 1 minute. So the people who are not coming to class under me, you can just try doing these questions we have already done in class. So others, you all can just try doing them. Right. So you should do from, yeah, all these questions. Do it soon. So once you are done, please raise your hand. Our YouTube channel name is Sateha College. Sateha College. And students, we will be having free sessions for all subjects, right? So make sure you join them and get the maximum out of it, right? We have some best lecturers and you can come and see them, how they are teaching. And if you like, you can continue with them as well. So just come and check it out. If you didn't get the timetable yet, you can just leave me a message in WhatsApp. I can send you the timetable. Yeah, Roman number 2 you can't do, parturition you can't do, only 35, Roman number 1 you should do. Don't do Roman number 2. Yes, I'm also doing in EduZone. So if you are already an EduZone student, you can join from there also, no problem. Miss, when there is no baby, the ovum from the Graafian follicle, where does it go? Out from the like menstrual cycle is menstruation is taking place, no, with the wall, the blood and all, it will come out. But can you see it? Can you see the ovum coming out? because it's microscopic. Can you see it coming out? No, you can't see it coming out. Then next person, Miss, when a female is pregnant, do they produce? No. So menstrual cycle is produced when the wall is breaking, no? So when the baby is there inside the mother, can the wall break? If the wall break, what will happen to the baby? If the wall break, what will happen to the baby? Yes, anyone? Now one person is asking, Miss, when a female is pregnant, do they produce menstrual cycle? Abortion, the baby will come out. So the wall can't break. For the 9 months, the mother is carrying the baby, the wall will not break. Right? For the 9 months, the mother is carrying the baby, the wall will not break. So she will not get menstruation. Miss, what is the definition of implantation? So implantation means deposition of the blastula into the, or sinking and deposition of the blastula into the wall of the uterus. Wall of the uterus. Is sperm also microscopic? Yes, sperm is microscopic. Sperm also you can't see. Miss, why can't some ladies be pregnant? There are so many reasons why can't ladies be pregnant. There are so many reasons why man is responsible for the baby not to be pregnant. For the girl to be not to be. Now, it's not only the point of the woman. It's also point of the man. If the man is not producing sperm properly, then also she can't get pregnant. Or if there is sometimes you have a main cause of non-pregnancy is PCOS. Have you heard about PCOS? Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. Anyone who have heard about it? Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. Have you heard about it? It's PCOS. What happens is like the eggs will become frozen again. So then the eggs will not develop. So that is PCOS, Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. So mainly most of the people in all over the world, the ladies, if they can't get pregnant, the main reason is PCOS. Miss, what happens if you have sex? No. Miss, what happens if you have sexuality activity during pregnancy? Does the baby die? No. Teacher, once again, can you please say the definition of menstrual cycle? So menstrual cycle is the cyclic process occurring in the female reproductive system. Cyclic process occurring in the female reproductive system. Miss, after fertilization, how will it be, a girl or a boy? You will study that in grade 10, unit 20. Miss, when there are non-identical twins in the uterus, there will be 2 embryonic membrane and 2 umbilical cord. Yes, that's correct. Non-identical twins, right? Non-identical twins will have 2 embryonic membrane and 2 placenta. Miss, won't the blood be exchanged? No, blood is not exchanged. There is no blood going from mother to baby, and there is no blood coming from baby to mother. Blood will not get exchanged. Miss, as you said, if only one sperm enters, all the other sperm will it release by menses? Not menses. Now, if the sperm enter and it get fertilized, the baby is there now, so there will not be menstrual cycle. Normally it will come out. Okay, the sperms will come out, or if it stays inside the body, it will die and degenerate inside the body. Madam is getting menstrual cycle 4 days normal. That's the average. That's the average for a female. Miss, after fertilization, okay. Miss, for some, no menstruation. Why is that? Y'all say me. For some, no menstruation. Is the egg growing? Is the egg growing? Now, menstruation will happen only if the egg is released. If the egg is not released, will you have menstruation? If the egg is not released, will you have menstruation? Answer me that, will you? If the egg is not released, will you have menstruation? No. Who is responsible for releasing of the egg? Who is responsible for releasing of the egg? Anyone who knows? All this time I taught you. Who is responsible for releasing of the egg? Is it FSH? No. Very good, Zainab. LH. LH. So if your egg is not releasing, there is no LH in your body. So they will check this hormone first. They will check your FSH. They will check your LH. So no menstruation means mainly this can be the reason. So have you all finished writing the answers? How many students? Only 43. What about the others? Have you all finished writing the answers so we can discuss? Miss, if a woman can't produce baby due to the freezing of eggs, can she cure it and produce baby? It's according to one person here. Some people, you mean, yes, that's correct. That's there. Now say the doctor is imagining in the future now some people. Okay, I'll explain that really for you all. Wait, I'll stop the share. Look, now some people, they enter menopause early. You know what is menopause? Menopause means, yeah, their menstruation stops. When will the menstruation stop? Menopause means their menstruation will stop. When will the menstruation stop? When all of their eggs is, now or every month it is releasing one egg, no. So when all of the egg is over, what will happen? Menstruation will stop. So that you call it as menopause, right? When all of the egg which is present is over, there is no egg to be produced and developed, no. So then they will enter menopause. Menopause is their menstruation will stop. So normally this happens when? Like 50 years, after 50. Mainly it occurs after 50. But some girls, they enter menopause early, like 35, they enter menopause. So when the doctor sees this, what will he do is, he will take some eggs and freeze it for future use. For future use, if she want to use it to become pregnant, she can use that egg and they will do IVF. Like they will insert the egg after fertilization, they will insert it into its body. It's not natural. So this can be done. This can be done. Okay. Miss, then what estrogen and progesterone are doing? So estrogen and progesterone will be produced only if the rupturing occur. If you produce corpus luteum, only no progesterone will be produced. So estrogen is produced in low amount. It will help in the maintaining the wall of the uterus. That's all. Okay, so I discuss the answers now for those questions. Let's discuss the answers so we can finish the class. Yes, so what is the first one? Explain the process of fertilization in man. So what is fertilization? When the nuclear material, you can say as the nuclear material, that is the chromosome. When the nuclear material of sperm and ovum combine together to form what? To form zygote. So that you call it as fertilization, right? So it's better to mention this nuclear material. If you have not written that, add that. So when the nuclear material of sperm and ovum combine together to form zygote. So that you call it as fertilization. So where does the fertilization take place? Answer for that is when the nuclear material of sperm and ovum combine together to form zygote. To form zygote. So where does fertilization take place? Answer me. Where? Very good. Is it in the womb? Farah, think. Is it in the womb the fertilization is taking place? No. Fallopian tube. Fallopian tube, not in the womb. I showed you, right? Somewhere here. Fallopian tube. Then what is implantation? So what is implantation? Embedding of the blastula into the wall of the uterus. So embedding of the blastula into the wall of the uterus, or you can say deposition. That word is also fine. Deposition of the blastula into the wall of the uterus. So that you call it as implantation. The next one. What is the membrane that covers the fetus? What is the membrane that covers the fetus? Very good. Embryonic membrane. Embryonic membrane. Next one. Name the fluid present inside this membrane. So what's the fluid present inside this membrane? Very good. Amniotic fluid. Amniotic fluid. Next one. Name the place where the embryonic membrane is connected with the uterus. Very good. Placenta. Placenta. That's correct. Through which part exchange of material take place between the mother and the fetus? Yes, that's correct. Umbilical cord. Umbilical cord. Then next one. Name the materials that are transported between the mother to the fetus. Mother to fetus. Very good. Oxygen, nutrition, then water, then you can have even what? What's the other one? The diseases, right? Diseases or drugs. If there are parents who are taking drugs, drugs can transfer smoking. If you take smoking, the unwanted chemical from the smoking, they can enter the baby. So it can even damage the baby when he or she is in mother's womb, right? So in Sri Lanka, mainly girls don't drink, no. But in Western countries, girls drink a lot, right? So once they become pregnant, what is the first thing they will do? They will stop the alcohol, because alcohol also can be transferred from the mother to the baby. So if you have a baby like that, before the baby comes out itself, the baby will be addicted to what? If the mother is always using drugs, before the baby comes out to the world, the baby will be addicted to what? Drugs. So see how scary, right? So the because of the mother, the baby is in danger, right? So remember that. So next one is nutrition transported from fetus to mother. So you can say waste materials like urea, uric acid, then carbon dioxide, then you can say creatinine, right? And then you can say even water. So do you have exchange of blood between the mother and the baby? Do you have exchange of blood? No. So that's the next question. Can you answer for that? Name a material which is not exchanged between the mother and the fetus. So what is not exchange? Blood. Blood. Okay, so that's it for today. If you have any doubt, you can ask me now. Wait a minute. Give me 1 minute. Wait.